When God is about to give you something big, you will see, but not in the way you think. It doesn't come with fireworks or parades. It comes in silence, in confusion, in the chaos of your darkest nights. See, people always expect that when something big is coming, life should feel better. But what if I told you that the blessing arrives when everything else feels like it's falling apart? That moment when you feel most lost, that's when gate is the closest. That's when the transformation begins. You ever had that deep ache, that emotional weight pressing on your chest, like you're carrying the world, but no one sees it? That's not weakness. That's preparation. You're being stretched, not punished, because something big is on the way. You're being reshaped for what you asked for. And let me be real with you, God's plan doesn't always feel good, but it's always good. You just don't see it yet. That's where faith kicks in. That's where you gotta trust God's timing. I've had moments where I thought everything was against me. And friends ghosted me, projects failed, people doubted. And in those exact moments, something shifted, not outside me, but in me. That's when I started understanding how to know God is working. See, it's never about what's happening around you. It's about what's changing within you. That internal shake-up, that's divine alignment. You're not being broken, you're being propelled. Every setback I've ever faced, every so-called no I've ever gotten, those were not blocks. Those were redirections. And once I started walking in faith and not by sight, I could feel something deeper moving. That's the spiritual awakening we don't talk about enough. People wait for big miracles, but God often whispers before he shouts. The blessing doesn't show up with a label. It shows up dressed like a challenge. Now listen, before a breakthrough, life gets messy. That's one of the signs of a breakthrough right there. It's the pressure before the promise, the silence before the shout. And you may be thinking right now, I've been praying, I've been patient. Where is my answer? But hear me, waiting on God is not wasting time. Waiting is working. Waiting is molding you into the person who's ready for that big thing. You're not late. You're not forgotten. You're right on schedule. And I want to tell you something that I wish someone told me years ago. The struggle doesn't mean God said no. It just means he's building your character before he blesses your life. So if life feels heavy right now, if you're surrounded by silence and setbacks, don't back down. Lena, that's the exact moment God is preparing to reveal what's been coming your way all along. The pain is real, but so is the promise. Now stay with me, because as we move forward in this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to spot the signs of spiritual growth in your own life. Not just the ones that look good on social media, but the real ones. The ones that hurt, stretch, and then bless. You're not watching this by accident. There's something here for you. Something God wants you to hear today. I remember standing in the middle of my career, thinking I had it all figured out. I had the talent, I had the drive, I had the image. But there was a point where none of it was enough. I couldn't shake this feeling inside, like something was missing. Not money, not fame, something deeper. And that's when I started understanding the difference between my plan and God's purpose for me. Man, let me tell you, when you're out here chasing success without divine direction, you'll keep running in circles. You'll get applause, but no peace. You'll get attention, but not alignment. See, we think that being busy means we're moving forward, but sometimes business ends is just noise. He works in silence. He'll slow you down to show you what matters. I had to learn to stop rushing and start listening. Because when you slow down enough to really hear, you'll start catching the signs God is dropping all around you. That conversation that keeps replaying in your head. That random door that shuts without warning. That gut feeling that something just ain't right. Those aren't coincidences. That's God's guidance. That's divine intervention. You ever pray for something big, and then your life suddenly feels like it's falling apart? That's what happens before a breakthrough. God clears out the fake, the distractions, the lies you've told yourself for years. He makes room. That's not punishment, that's preparation. You asked for growth, but growth comes with growing pains. You asked for blessings, but blessings require room. And God doesn't pour new wine into old wineskins. He transforms you first. That's what spiritual transformation feels like. It's not always beautiful, but it's always powerful. And sometimes we fight God's plan because it's uncomfortable. We resist the pruning, the pause, the process. But you know what I've learned? God's protection doesn't always look like a miracle. Sometimes it looks like rejection. That person who walked away, that job that didn't call back, that closed door, those were blessings in disguise. You don't see it now because your eyes are on the loss. But faith is about trusting what you can't see yet. You don't need all the answers. You just need to walk in faith and trust that God is already 10 steps ahead of you. When I look back on the moments I thought were setbacks, I see now they were setups. I wasn't being denied. I was being redirected. And that's where faith motivation comes in. Because real faith doesn't show up when things are easy. It shows up when the lights go out, when the people leave, when the doors close. That's when you dig deep. That's when you remember who you are and, more importantly, whose you are. And maybe that's you right now. You've been praying. You've been waiting. You're tired. You're doubting. You're wondering, why does God test us like this? Why does it feel so hard to hope? But can I be honest with you? Those tests aren't there to break you. They're there to make you stronger. They're part of the faith journey. God doesn't test you because He wants you to fail. He tests you because He wants you to level up. You ever wonder why every time you're about to quit, something whispers to you keep going? That's not your ego. That's not motivation. That's God's favor tugging at your soul. That's your spirit remembering what your mind forgot. That you're chosen. That you're covered. That you're not alone in this. That whisper is what gets you through the nights when the pain is louder than the promise. That whisper is your reminder. Sometimes it takes the storm to reveal how strong your foundation really is. And if you're feeling tested right now, maybe it's because God is about to bless you in a way that would blow your mind. And He needs to know, can you carry it? Are you ready for it? That's why you have to grow in faith, not just in success. Because success without a spiritual foundation will crumble. But when you're rooted in faith, even when the winds come, you don't fall, you rise. Now listen close, because the next part of this message will help you understand exactly how to prepare for blessings. Not just spiritually, but mentally and emotionally. Because what's coming your way is not small. It's not ordinary. It's big. And before you receive it, you have to become it. That's how you walk in alignment with God's plan. That's how you stop chasing and start attracting. You were never meant to live a life of confusion. You were meant to live with clarity and confidence. That's what God wants for you. But it starts with trusting the unseen. It starts with praying not just for, but for the patience and faith to wait for them. Because when it comes, it won't be just another opportunity. It'll be the thing you were born to do. Now let's take a moment to talk about the role of trust in this whole process. Because trust is the currency of faith. And when you trust God's plan, it doesn't mean you have all the answers. It doesn't mean you see the whole picture. It means you have the courage to move forward even when the path ahead isn't clear. Trust is letting go of control, even when your mind is screaming to hold on tighter. It's like being on a cliff, looking down at the unknown, but stepping off anyway because you know deep inside, God's got you. That's when you walk by faith and not by sight. I know it's hard. I've been there. There were times when I couldn't see the way forward. It felt like I was just stumbling in the dark, trying to hold on to the pieces of my dreams. And the voices in my head would say, what if it doesn't work out? What if all this was just for nothing? But deep down, I knew that if I let go and trusted, something would happen. And sure enough, when I look back now, I see how God's protection was all over those moments. I wasn't left to figure it out on my own. I wasn't abandoned. I was being prepared step by step. That's why patience in faith is so crucial. You can trust God's timing. You can't manipulate it. You can't make things happen faster than they're meant to. But what you can do is remain faithful even in the wait. And let me tell you something, that waiting is never wasted time. The delay is the design. The waiting room is where your character is built. It's where your mind is sharpened. It's where your heart is purified. Because when the blessing comes, you'll know it wasn't just luck, it was divine alignment. You see, God is always working, even when you don't feel it. How to know God is working is when everything seems to fall apart, yet there's still a quiet confidence in your heart. It's when you don't have the answers, but you feel like something's about to shift. That's how you know He's up to something. When you're on the edge, but you don't panic, that's faith-based motivation right there. It's trusting that the journey is just as important as the destination. It's also about understanding the power of prayer for breakthrough. Prayer is not just asking for it's aligning your will with God's will. The world tells you to fight for everything you want, to hustle harder, to grind until your hands bleed. And that's not wrong. But the breakthrough often comes when you stop fighting and start trusting. When you pray for clarity instead of control. When you ask for strength, not to force your will, but to endure until God's plan unfolds. Now, I want you to remember something powerful. God's blessings come at the right time, not a moment too soon nor a second too late. You might look at someone else's life and think, why did they have it so easy? Why does everything seem to work for them? But here's the truth, what you see is never the whole story. That's why spiritual encouragement is so vital. It's not about comparing your journey to anyone else's. It's about trusting your own path. Their life is unique. Your journey is different. God's purpose for you is yours and yours alone. And just because someone else's season is blooming doesn't mean yours is delayed. Your time is coming. Your breakthrough is near. So how do you get ready? How do you prepare for blessings that are bigger than anything you've imagined? First, you need to trust God's timing. When things don't make sense, when you're staring at what feels like a closed door, remember this: God knows what you need even when you don't. If that door stays closed, it's because God's got something even better waiting for you. But you can trust the process. You have to stay grounded, stay humble, stay faithful. You also need to start practicing gratitude, even in the waiting. Gratitude isn't just about being thankful when things go your way. It's about being thankful when life doesn't look the way you expected it to. Gratitude is a heart posture. It's a choice you make every day, regardless of the circumstances. When you begin to thank God for what you have right where you are, something shifts inside of you. It aligns your spirit with the divine purpose. And suddenly, you begin to see the signs of spiritual growth all around you. Here's something I've learned: you can't grow in the comfort zone. Growth comes from the pressure. It comes from the pain. And if you're feeling pressured right now, you're exactly where you need to be. The pressure doesn't break you, it shapes you. The pressure doesn't destroy you, it refines you. So if life is tough right now, don't look at it as a setback. Look at it as God shaping you for what's coming. You're not being punished. You're being prepared. Signs of a breakthrough often look like failure. They look like disappointment. They look like doors slamming in your face. But don't miss it. Don't quit. What happens before a breakthrough is always a test of faith. It's a test of patience. It's a test of how badly you want to walk in your purpose. So hold on. The storm is not the end. It's just the beginning of what's next. And let me say it again. God doesn't break you to hurt you. He breaks you to make you whole. What you think is loss, God calls gain. What looks like a setback, He calls a setup for something greater. And when you begin to see that, you can handle the pressure. You can handle the weight of the blessing because you know it's been prepared just for you. So, if you're facing hard times right now, if you're in the waiting season, I want to encourage you stay in faith. The answer is coming. The blessing is coming. Your breakthrough is on the way. And it's going to be bigger than anything you've imagined. Trust the process. Trust God's plan. And trust that everything that's meant for you will find its way to you. At this point in the journey, I want you to consider something that's often overlooked when we talk about waiting and trusting. Faith isn't just about believing that something good will happen. It's about believing that no matter what happens, you're going to be okay. And let me tell you, when I finally understood this, my entire perspective on life changed. I stopped thinking that I had to control everything and started trusting that God was in control. The truth is, life will give you plenty of reasons to doubt. Things won't always go your way. You'll face challenges, you'll lose people, and you'll feel like giving up. But here's the key: faith is not something you turn on when everything is going right. Faith is what you lean on when everything is falling apart. It's your foundation. When everything else seems shaky, faith is the one thing that can't be moved. And when you develop that kind of faith, you're ready for the blessings that are coming your way. Think about it: if we only trusted God when things were good, we wouldn't need faith at all. But the beauty of this journey is that faith grows strongest when you have to lean into the unseen. God's protection over your life is like a shield you can't always see, but you'll definitely feel it. When you look back on the tough seasons, you'll realize that it wasn't just you surviving, it was God's hand guiding you every step of the way. And you might have doubted it in the moment, but when you look at it from a higher perspective, you can see the divine intervention in ways you never could have imagined. The breakthrough that's coming is not just a shift in circumstances. It's a shift in your mindset. It's about seeing the bigger picture, trusting that everything you've gone through, the pain, the heartache, the uncertainty, was all part of a grand design. When you trust God's plan, you realize that nothing is wasted. Even the difficult times have purpose. Everything you've experienced, even the setbacks, has been preparing you for what's next. It's been making you stronger, building your character, and teaching you patience. You're not just surviving the storm, you're learning how to dance in it. And here's the thing about blessings: they don't always come in the way you expect. When we pray for a breakthrough, we often picture it looking a certain way. We have this image of success or happiness, and we wait for it to appear exactly like we imagined. But what happens when the blessing looks different? What if it's not what you expected, but it's exactly what you needed? That's the beauty of God's favor. It shows up in unexpected ways, in the form of opportunities, people, or experiences that will take you places you never imagined. It's about trusting that God knows what you need, even when you don't. I'll tell you, there have been moments in my life when I couldn't understand why things were happening the way they were. But every single time, when I finally surrendered and let go, I found that what came next was exactly what I needed. That's why trusting God's timing is so crucial. Sometimes we think we're ready for something, but God knows better. He knows when you're truly prepared. He knows when you've grown enough to handle the blessing He's about to pour into your life. And what happens when you're ready? The doors begin to open. The opportunities start to line up. The breakthrough you've been waiting for shows up in ways you never could have predicted. The challenge is not in the waiting, it's in how you wait. Are you waiting in fear or in faith? Are you waiting with impatience or with anticipation? Are you waiting on your own strength or are you waiting on God's strength? This is where spiritual encouragement comes in. There are going to be times when you feel like you're alone in this journey, when you question whether God is really listening, when you doubt that He even cares. But remember, God's favor is not dependent on your ability to see the end from the beginning. It's about trusting that He sees it for you. And that trust, that confidence in God's plan, is what keeps you going when everything else tells you to quit. If you're in the middle of that struggle right now, let me remind you that what you're going through is not a sign that you're off track. It's a sign that you're exactly where God needs you to be. The difficulty is part of the journey. The struggle is part of the preparation. And what's coming next is going to be worth it. You're closer than you think. You're just a few steps away from everything you've been praying for. But those steps need to be taken with patience and faith. You can trust the process. You have to trust the timing. You have to trust the silence. You have to trust that every door that closes is making room for the one that's about to open. So if you're facing resistance right now, I want you to see it differently. I want you to recognize it as a sign of spiritual growth. When you're being stretched, it means you're being prepared for something bigger. You're not being punished. You're being equipped for your next level. And as you walk through this process, I want you to hold on to one powerful truth. God has not forgotten you. He is with you every step of the way. And if He has brought you this far, He's not about to leave you now. The blessing is coming. The breakthrough is coming. And when it arrives, it's going to be more than you ever imagined. But before it gets here, you have to keep walking in faith. You have to keep trusting that God is working behind the scenes, orchestrating everything in your favor. And when it all unfolds, you'll see that all of it, the struggle, the waiting, the doubts was worth it, because you were being prepared for something big. Now, I want to talk about divine intervention for a moment, because I know many of you might be wondering, how do I know when God is actually stepping in? How do you differentiate between when things are simply happening by chance and when it's actually God's hand guiding you? Well, divine intervention is often subtle. It's not always a thunderous voice from heaven or a visible sign that changes your entire world. Sometimes it's in the small, seemingly insignificant moments that you can feel God moving on your behalf. When you're on this journey, you're going to notice doors that open just when you thought they were closed. People who come into your life right when you need them most. Situations that shift in your favor just when you thought you were running out of time. It's not coincidence. That's God's favor. And those are the signs of a spiritual awakening, a moment where your spirit becomes alert to the fact that something bigger is at work. I've had experiences in my life where I just knew things were happening for a reason, even when I couldn't understand them. I've had doors open at the exact right moment, people show up at the exact right time, and circumstances unfold in ways I couldn't have planned. And those moments weren't about me being lucky. They were about God showing me His purpose for my life. His timing was at work, even when I couldn't see it. And when I look back on those moments now, I realize that I was walking in divine alignment the whole time, even if I didn't know it. So how do you recognize when God is working in your life? The first sign is peace. It's a deep, unshakable peace in your heart that says, I might not understand this fully, but I trust that God's got this. It's when the fear of the unknown doesn't overwhelm you because you know that whatever happens, God is in control. That peace is a reminder that God's guidance, is leading you, even when the path seems unclear. Another sign of God's intervention is divine connections, the people who come into your life that feel like answers to your prayers. I've experienced this firsthand. I've been blessed with mentors, friends, and strangers who have stepped into my life at the exact right time, offering wisdom, encouragement, and sometimes even financial support when I needed it most. Those divine connections are part of the journey, part of God's plan to fulfill your purpose. You might not see them as anything extraordinary at first, but if you look closely, you'll see that each connection has been designed to help you move forward. But here's the truth. In order for this divine intervention to take place, you have to stay open. You can't close yourself off to what God is trying to do in your life just because it doesn't look the way you imagined. You have to remain open to the unexpected blessings. You have to remain open to change and to stepping outside of your comfort zone. Trusting God means you're willing to let go of your expectations and allow His plan to unfold, even when it doesn't make sense. When you look at the breakthroughs that are coming your way, it's important to remember that spiritual growth doesn't happen overnight. It's a process, and God knows exactly what you need to get to that next level. There are lessons you need to learn along the way. There are challenges you need to face, even if they don't feel fair at the time. But when you look at the bigger picture, you'll see that those challenges were never about defeating you. They were about developing you. I want to talk about waiting on God for a moment. Waiting is something that can test your patience like nothing else. But there is a power in waiting. Waiting on God doesn't mean you're doing nothing. It means you're actively trusting His timing, even when you can't see the results right away. Think about a farmer who plants seeds. He doesn't just plant them and walk away. He waters them. He tends to them. He waits for the soil to do its work. And that's what you're doing right now. You might not see the fruit of your labor immediately, but it's growing, even when you can't see it. Waiting on God is a time of preparation. It's a time when you learn to become the person who can handle the blessings that are on their way. It's when God works on your heart, develops your character, and teaches you patience. And when the time is right, He'll bring your breakthrough. But first, you have to wait with purpose, not passively, but actively knowing that every moment is preparing you for the greater things ahead. This is where the power of prayer comes in. Prayer isn't just about asking God for something. Prayer is the way we align ourselves with God's will. It's the way we position ourselves to receive His blessings, even before we can see them. It's the way we get ready for what's coming. When you pray for spiritual transformation, you're not just asking for things to change around you. You're asking for the strength to change, to grow, and to become the person God needs you to be. Prayer opens the door to divine intervention. It positions you in a place where God can move freely in your life. And let me tell you something, God's blessings are bigger than anything you can imagine. What He has in store for you is more than just success, more than just prosperity. It's a life of purpose, a life where you are aligned with His plan. It's a life where you are walking in His favor, and you can see His work in everything around you. The signs of a breakthrough are all around you even now, but you have to remain in faith, trust His plan, and allow yourself to be prepared for what He's about to release into your life. So, if you feel like you're on the verge of something big, but you're not sure what's next, don't worry. Keep walking in faith. Keep praying. Keep trusting. Because when God is about to give you something big, you will see it. When you do, you'll realize it was worth every moment of waiting, every challenge you faced, and every step of faith you took. Now, let's talk about trusting God's plan when things don't seem to make sense. If you've ever been in a place where everything feels uncertain, where you're not sure what to do next, or where it feels like life is pulling you in different directions, you know how easy it is to become frustrated. It's natural to question God's timing, to wonder why things aren't moving the way you expected. You start asking, why am I going through this? Why is this taking so long? Why does it feel like I'm stuck? But let me remind you that God's plan is always bigger than what we can see. When you're in the midst of a storm, it's hard to recognize that God is preparing you for something greater. It's like being in the middle of a puzzle you can't see the finished picture because all you have are the pieces. But God, in His infinite wisdom, sees the whole picture. He sees what you don't, and sometimes the things that look like setbacks are actually stepping stones toward your breakthrough. I've been there. I've had moments where I felt lost, where I felt like I was putting in all this effort and nothing was happening. But in those moments, when I thought God had forgotten me, I learned to trust the process. I learned that even though I couldn't see the outcome, I could trust that every single experience I was going through was preparing me for the success that was coming. Every rejection, every delay, every challenge was all part of the preparation. There's something powerful about waiting on God's timing. It teaches you patience, yes, but it also teaches you to develop a deeper relationship with Him. The waiting period isn't just about getting to the blessing, it's about learning to walk in faith, trusting that the same God who has led you this far is going to carry you all the way through. And when you finally reach that moment of breakthrough, you'll realize that the wait was worth it, not because of the blessing itself, but because of how much you grew in the process. This brings us to faith-based motivation. When you're waiting on your breakthrough, it can be easy to feel discouraged. But the key is to hold on to your faith. You have to trust that what you're going through has a purpose. You have to believe that God's blessings are on the way, even if you can't see them yet. Your job is not to control everything, it's to trust God's guidance. And if you stay faithful, you will see how everything works out exactly as it was meant to. Think about the story of Joseph in the Bible. He was sold into slavery by his brothers, thrown into prison for something he didn't do, and endured years of hardship. From the outside, it seemed like he was being punished, like his life was falling apart. But God had a purpose for Joseph's life that was bigger than what he could see at the time. Eventually, Joseph was elevated to a position of power in Egypt, and his story became one of forgiveness, redemption, and purpose. And it all started with him trusting God's plan, even when he couldn't understand it. That's the kind of faith that moves mountains, the kind of faith that doesn't depend on your circumstances, but on your trust in God's ability to work all things together for good. When God is preparing something big for you, He's not doing it on your timeline. He's doing it on His timeline. And though it might feel uncomfortable, it's part of the process. God's timing is always perfect. Another key part of this journey is spiritual growth. Many times, we focus on the destination of breakthrough, the promotion, the success. But spiritual growth is not just about the end result. It's about the transformation that happens within you as you walk through the trials, the waiting, and the preparation. It's about becoming the person who can handle the blessing. You can't skip the process. God's purpose for you requires you to grow, to become more resilient, to develop character, to learn patience, and to deepen your relationship with Him. This growth doesn't happen when everything is easy. It happens in the fire. God refines us in the fire, and while that process might be painful at times, it's necessary. Without the fire, we wouldn't be strong enough to carry the weight of the blessings God has in store for us. Every trial, every challenge, every setback is just another opportunity for you to build strength, build faith, and build character. And during this time of spiritual transformation, it's important to keep reminding yourself that you're not alone in this process. God's protection surrounds you. Even when it feels like everything is falling apart, He is with you, holding you, guiding you through the darkest moments. His favor is upon you even when you don't see it. and His love is the force that keeps you going, even when you're tempted to give up. One of the most powerful ways to stay grounded during this time is through prayer. Prayer is not just a way to ask for things, it's a way to align your heart with God's purpose. Prayer is how you stay connected to the one who created you, who knows the plans He has for you. And when you pray for a breakthrough, you're not just asking God to change your circumstances. You're asking Him to change you to prepare you for what's next. So as you wait for the big things that God is about to bring into your life, I encourage you to stay rooted in faith. Keep praying, keep trusting, and keep believing that God's plan is working in your life even when it feels like nothing is happening. The waiting is part of the process. And when your breakthrough comes, you'll know that every moment of waiting was worth it. Now, I want to dive into something that's often overlooked but incredibly powerful: God's favor. You've probably heard the phrase favor ain't fair. And when you truly experience God's favor, you'll know exactly what that means. Because it's not about what you deserve or what you can earn. It's about God's divine grace, and it's often given to you when you least expect it and in ways that defy logic. You see, God's favor isn't about your performance, it's about His purpose. It's about Him choosing to bless you, even when you feel like you haven't done enough to deserve it. That's what makes God's favor so powerful. It comes into your life, and it opens doors that you couldn't have opened on your own. It brings opportunities you never imagined. It brings people into your life who can help elevate you to the next level. And it can happen in the most unexpected ways. I've experienced this in my own life, and I've seen it in the lives of others too. There were times when I thought I wasn't ready for a certain opportunity, or when I wasn't qualified enough, but somehow God's favor found its way into my life. And when you experience this, you realize that it's not your ability that gets you to the next level, it's favor. And here's the thing about God's favor. When you start walking in it, it becomes obvious to everyone around you. People begin to notice the blessings that are following you, and they start to wonder how you got to where you are. They start to ask, how did you get that opportunity? How did that door open for you? And the truth is, it's not about what you get, it's about God's eyes and His favor leading you exactly where you need to be. And the best part, it's available to you if you're willing to trust God's timing, trust His process, and remain faithful to His plan. But there's a crucial part of this process that can't be overlooked, and that's preparing for blessings. Too many people get discouraged during the waiting period because they focus on what they don't have yet, instead of preparing for what's coming. Preparation is key. If you want to receive the big things that God has for you, you have to be ready for them. You can't expect to walk into a blessing if you haven't taken the time to prepare yourself to handle it. Think about it like this: you're praying for a promotion. Are you preparing yourself for the responsibility that comes with it? If you're asking for financial blessings, are you handling the resources you currently have with wisdom? If you're praying for a relationship, are you ready to invest in it the way it deserves? Preparation is more than just waiting. It's about getting ready spiritually, mentally, to receive what God is about to give you. And when you prepare yourself, when you get yourself into a place where you're ready to receive, you'll be amazed at how quickly the blessings begin to come. But here's the catch: you cannot rush the process. There's a saying, good things come to those who wait. And that's true when it comes to God's blessing. God's plan for your life is so much bigger than you can imagine, but you have to let it unfold in His timing. If you try to rush the process, you'll miss out on the valuable lessons that come with the waiting. Patience in faith isn't just about sitting back and doing nothing. It's about trusting the timing and using the waiting period to grow, to prepare, and to align yourself with God's will. When you learn to embrace the process, when you accept that the waiting period is part of your faith journey, that's when you'll truly begin to see how God works in your life. Trusting God's plan means that you know, deep down, that He has everything under control. When it feels like things are taking too long, you have to remind yourself that God's timing is perfect. You have to remind yourself that He's not withholding anything from you. He's preparing you for something greater. The truth is, the breakthrough is coming. You are closer than you think. So often, people give up just before they get to the moment where everything changes. But the key is to stay faithful, stay patient, and stay in the process. Every step you take, every prayer you say, every challenge you face, it's all preparing you for the big things that God has in store for you. One of the most powerful truths about waiting on God is that it gives you time to reflect. In the quiet moments, when things aren't moving as fast as you like, God is often speaking to you, working on your heart, molding you into the person you need to be. It's in those moments of stillness that you begin to realize how much you've grown. You begin to see how far you've come, and you start to understand that the waiting wasn't wasted. The waiting is where your character is built. The waiting is where you learn to depend fully on God. And when the breakthrough comes, you'll be able to handle it with grace and wisdom because you've been prepared. But don't just wait for your breakthrough to come. Be active in your waiting. Use this time to build your faith, to develop your skills, to become the person you need to be to carry the blessings that God is about to release. Every moment spent in waiting is an opportunity to get closer to the person God has called you to be. And when the moment comes, you'll be ready. You'll be more than ready. You'll be able to walk into the blessing with confidence, knowing that you've done the work, you've prepared your heart, and you've trusted God through it all. Now, as you continue on your journey, I want to leave you with this thought. God's protection is all over you. Even in the waiting, even in the struggle, you are being protected. God is keeping you safe, guiding your steps, and making sure that everything you need is on its way to you. So when doubt creeps in, when fear tries to take over, remember that God's protection is your shield. He's with you every step of the way. Your breakthrough is coming. You will see it, and when it happens, it's going to blow your mind. Keep walking in faith, keep trusting God's plan, and keep preparing yourself for the greatness that's about to unfold in your life. As we come to the final part of this journey, I want you to pause for a moment and reflect on everything we've discussed so far. God's timing, trusting His plan, preparing for blessings, and walking in faith, all of these are key elements in your personal transformation. But now, I want to talk about what happens when it all comes together. When the breakthrough happens, when the favor rains down, you'll finally understand why the waiting was worth it. But more importantly, you'll realize that you've been growing all along. The person you are now is not the same person who started this journey. You've been transformed. And that transformation happens in stages. It doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't come without struggles. But it happens every time you trust in God's purpose for your life. It happens every time you choose to keep moving forward, even when you don't have all the answers, even when things are unclear. That's when God's blessings start to manifest in ways you couldn't have imagined. And when they do, you'll understand that all the waiting, all the trials were preparing you for this moment. It's easy to lose hope when it feels like nothing is happening, but the truth is, God is always working behind the scenes. Even when you don't see immediate results, He's at work, orchestrating things for your good. God's favor isn't about a what-I'm event. It's about a lifestyle of favor, of continuously walking in His purpose and seeing how He opens doors for you in unexpected ways. As long as you stay faithful, the blessings will keep coming. And when that moment of breakthrough finally arrives, you'll know it was worth the wait. You'll be able to look back and see how every setback, every moment of doubt, every struggle was part of your growth. It was part of your preparation. The pain you felt wasn't for nothing. It was the refining fire that made you stronger. God was shaping you into the person you needed to be to handle the blessings He had for you. But there's something else that just as important: staying grounded in gratitude. when your breakthrough comes, when your prayers are answered, when you see the blessings unfold in your life, don't forget where it all came from. Gratitude is the key that unlocks more favor. It's the attitude of thanksgiving that keeps your heart aligned with God's will. And trust me, when you stay humble and grateful, the blessings keep flowing. In fact, gratitude is the secret weapon that helps you continue to walk in faith when the road ahead seems uncertain. When things are good, when you have everything you've prayed for, it's easy to get complacent. But when you keep a heart of gratitude, you remember that all good things come from God. It keeps you humble and reminds you that you are walking in divine alignment with His will. This is why it's so important to stay connected to your faith, to continue seeking God's guidance every single day. Because faith isn't just about what you believe, it's about how you live your life based on that belief. It's about the choices you make, the way you treat others, the way you respond to challenges. And when you live your life with faith, you become a magnet for God's blessings. Your actions, your words, your mindset, they all align with His purpose for your life. Let's talk about spiritual awakening for a moment. When you experience a shift in your spirit, when you feel God moving in a deeper way in your life, it changes everything. This awakening is the moment when you realize that your life is not just about you, it's about fulfilling a greater purpose. You understand that you are part of a bigger plan, one that stretches far beyond your immediate desires. And when you come to that realization, you begin to see everything differently. Your struggles aren't just obstacles, they're opportunities for growth. Your setbacks aren't just delays, they're moments of preparation. You start to understand that every step of your journey is part of God's grand design. And when you experience this kind of awakening, you begin to see the world with new eyes. You see opportunities where others see challenges. You see the blessings that God is sending your way, even in the midst of difficulty. You begin to recognize the signs of a breakthrough before they even happen. You walk in confidence, knowing that you are exactly where you're supposed to be and that everything you've gone through has led you to this moment. This is the power of spiritual transformation, the ability to see God's hand in every area of your life. So, now that we're at the end of this journey, I want you to take a moment and reflect. Think about how far you've come. Think about the lessons you've learned. Think about the strength you've gained, the faith you've built, and the person you've become. God has been with you every step of the way, and He's not done with you yet. The breakthrough you've been waiting for is closer than ever. The blessings you've been praying for are already on their way. You've trusted God's timing. You've walked in faith. You've been prepared, and now it's time to receive. It's time to step into the destiny that God has for you. And when you do, you'll be able to look back and see that every single step led you to this point. You'll understand that the waiting wasn't just about receiving blessings. It was about becoming the person you were always meant to be. As you continue your journey, always remember, God's plan for you is greater than anything you could ever imagine. Stay faithful, stay humble, and stay grateful. Your breakthrough is coming, and when it does, you'll know that it was worth every single moment of waiting. You will see. You will see. Before we wrap up, I want to encourage you to keep walking in faith. Stay consistent in your prayers, stay focused on God's purpose for your life, and always remember that you are never alone on this journey. God is with you every step of the way, and His blessings are waiting for you. If you found this message inspiring and you're ready to embrace the journey ahead, make sure to subscribe to Wisdom Recorder for more content that helps you grow in faith and motivation. Hit that like button, share this video with someone who needs encouragement, and keep walking in the confidence that God's timing is perfect. Until next time, remember you are destined for greatness, and with God by your side, there's nothing you can't overcome. Stay faithful, stay grateful, and stay inspired. Thank you for watching. Wisdom recorded your knowledge source.